I caught my mill trying to rename my newborn while I was sedated, so I registered Juniper Dawn, exposed her online, and won a restraining order. Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the R Lounge. Naming a child is hard, like existentially hard. You want something meaningful, something that carries a legacy, something that won't get them teased in middle school or accidentally turned into a meme on social media. Today in the R Lounge, does a name really carry a legacy? Or is it just a convenient way to drag someone else's mistake along for the ride? Up first, what happens while you're sleeping? First story. Mother-in-law tried to rename my baby while I was sedated, so I registered the name she hates most. When my husband and I found out we were expecting our first child, we were absolutely over the moon. We dove straight into planning the nursery, talking about baby names. My husband suggested we keep our name choices private until the birth, so we wouldn't have to deal with family opinions or drama. Honestly, that was probably the smartest idea he'd ever had. But of course, we didn't stick to it, and that's where things started to go downhill. The first ultrasound confirmed a healthy pregnancy, and my mother-in-law insisted on coming to appointments. We agreed to let her join occasionally. During a family dinner, mother-in-law brought up baby names. She suggested her mother's name, Eleanor, if we had a girl. I mentioned we were considering several options, including Juniper, a name I've loved since childhood. The way her face twisted when I said it, you'd think I suggested naming the baby dumpster fire. She called it hippie trash and said it would be embarrassing for a child to have such a name. When we found out we were having a girl, mother-in-law immediately started referring to the baby as little Eleanor, despite no agreement from us. My husband told her to stop, but she played it off as just being excited about becoming a grandma. Then came the surprise gift. Mother-in-law created custom Eleanor onesies and nursery decorations without our permission. I told her we hadn't decided on a name yet, which led to tears and accusations that I was being difficult. She then created an Eleanor group chat with family members without our permission. I immediately left the chat, only to receive texts from her saying I was being hormonal and difficult. My sister organized my baby shower, and we explicitly told everyone no name-themed gifts since we hadn't announced our decision. Brother-in-law showed up with an Eleanor-themed cake and had the audacity to announce Eleanor's arrival during her toast. After much discussion, my husband and I finalized our name choice, Juniper Rose. We told our immediate family, except mother-in-law, due to her previous behavior. My husband promised to stand firm on our decision, and I believed him. I went into labor 3 weeks early. There were complications during the delivery that resulted in an emergency C-section. The procedure went well, but I was heavily sedated for several hours afterward. When I woke up, still groggy from medication, I found mother-in-law in my hospital room with a clipboard. Through my haze, I overheard her telling a nurse, "The mother is confused from medication. The baby's name is Eleanor Grace, not Juniper." The nurse looked uncomfortable, but mother-in-law kept insisting she had authority as the grandmother. I was too weak to speak clearly, but I managed to press the emergency button. The hospital staff later confirmed that mother-in-law had attempted to submit name change paperwork while I was sedated. Security footage showed her taking birth certificate forms from the nurse's station. My husband had stepped out to get food when this happened and returned to find me hysterical. The hospital banned mother-in-law from my room, but she claimed she was just trying to help. When we were discharged with baby Juniper, we discovered mother-in-law had already announced the birth of Eleanor Grace on social media, complete with photos she took without our permission. My husband called her. She claimed Juniper is child abuse and that she was protecting her granddaughter. I've never wanted to reach through a phone and strangle someone so badly in my life. The next day, mother-in-law showed up unannounced at our home with Eleanor monogrammed blankets. I refused to let her in, and she actually threatened to call CPS, claiming I was mentally unstable. That was the last straw. My husband finally snapped. He told her point blank that if she ever pulled something like this again, he would cut her out of our lives completely. He said, "You're not going to bully my wife. You're not going to dictate our child's name. And if you can't respect our boundaries, you won't have a relationship with us or your grandchild at all." Then he told her to leave and not come back until she was ready in a position to apologize and start treating us and our decisions with respect. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, we discovered mother-in-law had a key to our house when we found her in the nursery while we were napping. My husband and I had fallen asleep on the couch with the baby monitor on, and I woke up to see a figure hovering over Juniper's crib on the screen. I nearly had a heart attack until we realized it was mother-in-law. A massive argument ensued. She claimed she had rights as a grandmother. My husband physically removed her from the house and changed the locks immediately. The next day, we had our official birth certificate appointment at the county office. That's when a petty inspiration struck me. I suggested we change the middle name from Rose to Dawn. My husband looked confused until I explained. Dawn was the name of his mother's high school rival who dated her ex-boyfriend before his father. His mother had ranted about hating this woman for over 35 years. Anytime Dawn's name came up, mother-in-law would go on a tirade about that woman. My husband hesitated at first, but after everything his mother had put us through, he agreed. We officially registered our daughter as Juniper Dawn. We sent out birth announcements with the baby's official name the following day. Mother-in-law called within minutes of receiving it, screaming so loudly I could hear her from across the room. "You named my grandbaby after that." My husband put her on speaker so I could sweetly reply, "Oh, you tried to name my daughter after your mother while I was unconscious, so I thought family naming traditions were fair game." She hung up, but the peace didn't last long. A few days later, mother-in-law showed up with my husband's father, demanding we change the name. When we refused to open the door, our security cameras caught her attempting to enter the house through a window. We called the police and filed a report for attempted breaking and entering. We also filed for a temporary restraining order. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I went too far with the middle name choice. My husband says his mother deserved it after trying to steal our daughter's identity while I was incapacitated. Here's the thing. I didn't even know the full story about Dawn until after we'd already registered the name. I just knew mother-in-law hated her. My husband later told me that in high school, his mom and Dawn were competing for the same guy, who later became my father-in-law. Dawn and father-in-law dated for a few months before he ultimately chose mother-in-law. Apparently, mother-in-law has held this grudge for decades, convinced that Dawn tried to steal her man, even though they ended up married with kids. It's honestly ridiculous how much she still hates this woman after all these years. I should also mention that my mother-in-law has a history of boundary issues. When my husband and I got engaged, she tried to change our wedding venue because she didn't like the location we chose. When we bought our house, she rearranged our furniture while we were at work because she thought it looked better her way. She always had this controlling streak, but this name situation has taken it to a whole new level. The hospital incident wasn't just annoying, it was genuinely scary. I was vulnerable and recovering from major surgery, and she tried to use the moment to override my parental authority. The nurse later told me that mother-in-law had claimed I was too medicated to make decisions and that she had temporary guardianship while I was incapacitated. Complete lies. When I think about how she tried to permanently alter my daughter's identity without my consent, it makes my blood boil. What kind of person does that? And then to announce a fake name on social media and start telling my family members before we could even make our own announcement, it feels like she was trying to force our hand by creating a situation where it would be too awkward to correct everyone. The breaking point was definitely finding her in our house uninvited. The image of her standing over my newborn's crib still gives me nightmares. What was she planning to do? What if we hadn't woken up? The thought makes me sick. My husband has been supportive throughout this nightmare, but I can tell he's struggling with the family fallout. His mom has always been difficult, but he never expected her to go this far. He's been getting messages from relatives saying he needs to control his wife and respect his mother's wishes, as if I'm the problem here. The restraining order was necessary after she tried to break in, but it's caused even more drama. Mother-in-law is now telling everyone that we're keeping her from her granddaughter. She's conveniently leaving out the part where she attempted to illegally enter our home. I keep second-guessing myself about the middle name. Was it a step too far? Maybe. But after everything she put us through, it felt like poetic justice. She tried to steal my daughter's identity during one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. Choosing a middle name that happens to annoy her seems pretty mild in comparison. My husband pointed out something important. Regardless of the middle name, mother-in-law would still be furious that we didn't use Eleanor. There was no winning here. At least this way we got some satisfaction out of the situation. This should have been a joyful time for our family. Instead of enjoying these precious early days with our newborn, we've been dealing with family drama and security concerns. I resent mother-in-law for tainting this experience for us. My parents have been incredibly supportive through all of this. They think the middle name choice was hilarious and well-deserved. Mom pointed out that middle names are rarely used anyway, so it's not like we're subjecting our daughter to daily reminders of this family drama. She'll be Juniper to everyone who matters. The irony is that if mother-in-law had just respected our choices from the beginning, we probably would have given Juniper the middle name Rose as originally planned. My husband mentioned that his mother has always been obsessed with family legacy. Her mother's name was Eleanor, and she wanted to continue the tradition. But here's the thing, she never even asked us about it properly. She just assumed she had the right to name our child and acted accordingly. I sometimes wonder what would happen if the hospital staff hadn't caught on to what mother-in-law was doing. Would our daughter's birth certificate have been filed with the wrong name? Would we have had to go through legal processes to correct it? My husband and I have agreed that mother-in-law will not have unsupervised time with Juniper, even if she eventually apologizes. Was I wrong to choose a middle name specifically to annoy mother-in-law? Maybe, but after what she tried to do, I can't bring myself to regret it. Update. I want to thank everyone for the supportive comments. Many of you asked for an update. Yesterday, things came to a head when mother-in-law ambushed us at Juniper's pediatrician appointment. Somehow, she found out when we'd be there, I suspect through a family member, though no one was admitting to the leak. We were sitting in the waiting room when she burst in, making a beeline for the baby carrier. She actually tried to grab Juniper while screaming about saving Eleanor. The pediatrician witnessed everything and immediately called security. By the time the police arrived, mother-in-law was in full meltdown mode. She was released after a 72-hour hold. The good news is that we were granted a permanent restraining order. My husband has gone no contact and blocked her on everything. The most bizarre part of all this is how many people seem to think grandparents should have naming rights. My husband's extended family keeps saying things like, "It's tradition and she's just trying to honor her mother." But traditions aren't mandates, and honoring someone doesn't mean steamrolling over the actual parent's wishes. I've been reflecting on what might have happened if we had just named her Eleanor from the start. Would mother-in-law have respected other boundaries, or would this controlling behavior have manifested in different ways? I suspect the latter. People who try to rename someone else's child while they are sedated from surgery aren't likely to have healthy boundaries in other areas. My husband has been my rock through all of this. He set firm boundaries with his family and hasn't wavered in his support. It's been hard on him. He never expected his mother to go this far, but he's been clear that his priority is protecting our daughter and me. Oh, and for those who asked in the comments of my original post, yes, Juniper is actually a family name on my side. My great-grandmother's sister was named Juniper, and I always loved how unique it was. I didn't mention it before because it didn't seem relevant, but several people suggested I was being selfish by choosing a made-up hippie name instead of a real family name like Eleanor. The irony is that Juniper has more genuine family significance to me than Eleanor does to my husband, who barely knew his grandmother. Thanks again for all the support. When you're in the middle of family drama, it's easy to lose perspective. Reaction. After everything she pulled, from trying to gaslight hospital staff while you were drugged, to announcing a fake name on social media, to breaking into your house, what she did isn't just rude or overbearing, it was unhinged and dangerous. Pretending she had authority over your baby's identity? That's not normal or sane behavior. You and your husband drew the only possible line, one that puts your daughter's safety and your sanity first. Juniper Dawn will grow up knowing that her parents shielded her from someone who thought love was the same thing as control. Mother-in-law may see herself as a victim, but the reality is she created this mess, and now she's living with the consequences. And frankly, she earned every ounce of that fallout. What would you have done? Let us know in the comments below. Up next, when a name comes with baggage. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to name our son after wife's dead brother? Second story. Obligated. This is a throwaway. I don't want this reaching friends or family. Also, I'm sorry for the length. I didn't know a good way to shorten this without leaving out anything important. I was directed here upon the advice of a friend after this issue escalated to a huge argument approximately 3 hours ago that resulted in myself leaving our home to go to a buddy's house. I'm still here and unsure how to go about resolving this with my wife. Myself, 28 male, and my wife, 26 female, have been together for 10 years and married for 4 of those. My wife is pregnant with our first child, a boy, and she is due in early July. Now, on to the issues that have arisen. My wife wants to name our son after her brother, who passed a little over a year ago. Her brother, we'll call him T, was her only sibling, and they were very close growing up as they were only 2 years apart. However, her brother was not the most pleasant person. Her brother was a drug addict starting from age 14 to 15. He stole from everyone around him, including myself and my wife. He was abusive to every one of his partners and his child, and he served several years behind bars. T was also abusive to my wife and her parents. He had a stay-away order from our home because he broke in while we were away and stole our TV, my wife's jewelry box, and one of my hunting rifles. T passed last year in April from a drug overdose, and it affected my wife very deeply. It was her first major loss she has suffered, and she still attends therapy to help cope. When we found out we were having a baby boy, she immediately wanted the name to be T's name. I heavily disagreed and have offered many replacements, other family names like her father or grandfather's, but she will not budge. She wants our son to have the exact same name as her brother, first and middle. She has even gone as far as to say that if we name him something else, she will have it changed or only call him by T. My final straw was when my wife ordered a blanket with T's name sewn into it for our son. I blew up and told her I was not naming our child after a drug addict who took advantage of everyone around him. My wife blew up at me. She screamed at me to leave, threatened to call the police if I didn't. She called me a piece of crap for talking about her dead brother like he was trash. I did leave. I told her I would attempt to speak to her again about this once we had both calmed down, and I apologized for speaking about T in a negative way. I'm getting calls nonstop from her family calling me names for speaking about T and not wanting to honor him by naming our son after him. My family is on my side, her family is on her side, and my friends are split on the matter. So, Reddit, strangers of the internet, I need your opinion on if I am indeed a massive a-hole for not wanting this name for our child. Verdict, not the a-hole. Update 3 months later. Hello, internet humans. Not sure if any of you remember my first post a few months back, but I just logged on and saw I had a few messages, so I figured I would post an update. Sorry in advance for the length. So, if you recall in my first post, my wife and I were expecting a baby boy in early July, and our conflict was occurring over my wife wanting to name our son after her late brother. We got into a huge fight. Some names were called and threats were made, and I was led to this subreddit to ask advice and opinions of internet strangers. Well, a week after the post, I sat down with my wife and we had a very long and difficult conversation. She broke down and admitted she was struggling more than she let on with the loss of her brother, and she told me that she felt uncomfortable talking to me about it due to my feelings towards him and how he lived his life. I was devastated, to say the least. I've never felt like such a horrible partner. I was selfish. I failed to see him as anything more than his mistakes, and I failed to support my wife through his death. It was a long talk with lots of tears, and we both agreed to be more open in the future and less judgmental. We started attending therapy together less than 2 weeks after that, and we've been going ever since, once a week. It was rough at first, but it has helped tremendously in dealing with the bumps in the road of marriage. As for our son, we came to an agreement on a name after lots of long discussion. A first name we both adored and her brother's middle name just spelled differently. A good compromise for both of us, and it was my son's own name that no one before him had carried. We were both happy. Then, on July 3rd, 2022, my wife delivered a beautiful, healthy 8-pound baby girl. To say that we were shocked would be an understatement. My daughter came home the next day, and since then, I am still in awe of how we created something so perfect. We didn't figure out a name until she was a week old, but I'm happy to share that Eleanor Shea is what we came up with. I wonder if they know the mother-in-law from the previous story. Oh well, on we go. We are still adjusting to life with an infant, but so far it has been nothing short of amazing. Thank you for your past advice, internet friends and strangers. Update: my wife is cheating on me 1 year after first update. I'm just here to vent my frustrations and scream into the void about my current situation. I can't talk to anyone in my personal life about this. My wife is cheating on me. My wife is cheating, and she has been for the past 2 months. I just don't understand. I don't even know where to start to begin to understand. We have a beautiful home, stable careers. We're not financially struggling, no drug or alcohol abuse. We attend therapy together. Our daughter is healthy, perfect. Our 6-year wedding anniversary is 3 months from tomorrow. We've been together 11 years. I've spent the last 2 days examining everything about us under a microscope, trying to find a crack, where I went wrong. When did she become unhappy? When did this life, our life, become unsatisfactory for her to step out of our marriage with some random guy she met on Facebook, for her to throw away our family? I just don't understand. I found out on Monday completely by chance. My daughter's tablet was dead. I grabbed my wife's iPad so she could watch her nighttime videos and go to sleep. Wife isn't home right now. She's on a trip and won't be back for another 4 days. I keep hearing messages, notifications dinging on her iPad while my daughter has it. So I took it to turn on silent, only to see a man's name I didn't recognize with a little winky face next to it. I went through everything. They've done it all, met up, spent the night together, went on dates. They even have a romantic cruise planned for next month, the same cruise she told me was a bachelorette trip with one of her friends. All these outings that I encouraged. She told me they were with friends. I encouraged her. I was so proud she was getting out there and becoming more social since she expressed motherhood made her feel like a recluse. And after digging a little deeper, all these new friends she's been out with don't even exist. All lies. They are characters she's created to continue her relationship with this man. I feel like a complete and total idiot. I never second-guessed a lie she fed me. I gave her my 100% trust. We've been doing couples therapy for a year. We communicate, we go on dates, we get each other gifts. Our sex life was great. I never, not even for a second, would have suspected this. I don't know how to confront her with this. I don't want this. I don't want to split up our home, but I know that this isn't something therapy can fix. I know myself well enough to know I'll never be able to trust her again. Do I just let go? Let her go with this man who clearly makes her happier than I can? My entire existence is intertwined with her. How do I even begin to untangle that and separate? I have 4 more days to sit and overthink this. I genuinely don't know. You know what I mean? Additional info. Thank you everyone for the advice. I'm trying to keep up with comments and eventually will reply to everyone. Since posting and reading the comments, I've been working on getting all the messages, pictures, videos into a folder on my personal computer. I went through our home cameras and found that she'd had him at our house several times, either picking her up or them swimming, amongst other things, in our pool together. The more I find, the sicker I feel. I have a lot of phone calls to make in the next few days and an appointment to get screened for STI. I do want everyone to rest assured my daughter is mine. We had a DNA test when she was an infant to scan for hereditary diseases I carry. I'm going to reach out to my parents and fill them in so they can babysit while I handle this for the next few days. Update: my wife is cheating on me. Continued 1 month after last update. I posted here almost a month ago venting my frustrations about discovering my wife's affair, and I received a magnitude of comments and messages filled with advice and kind words. For that, I thank everyone who took the time to comment or write me, and I'm sorry for anyone who related to my situation. I'm here with somewhat of an update, but mostly more venting. My life is upside down, and it feels good to get it all out somewhere. Sorry if a lot of this is rambling, and sorry for the length. After making my post, I took the advice of everyone and gathered up all evidence and contacted lawyers in my area. I found a really great one and went ahead and started on divorce papers before my wife got home. I also got tested for STI and told my parents and best friend about the situation. I took my daughter to my parents so I could have the alone time to mentally prepare myself to face my wife with this discovery. I rage-claimed a lot and cried a lot those last 2 days before she got back. I packed some of her stuff, but then unpacked it and cried more. I had it planned to lay out all the screenshots along with divorce papers on our dining room table and just sit and wait for her. But I didn't get the chance to do that. She was supposed to get home later in the afternoon on Sunday, but she ended up getting back around 6:30 that morning. She didn't call or text in hopes of surprising me. I was up drinking coffee and, you guessed it, crying when she walked into the house. I didn't greet her. I just went and got the folders of evidence and divorce papers and gave them to her. I don't remember anything she said that day, but I just said I knew I wanted a divorce and I would keep the house as it was in my name solely. It hurt a lot. I wanted to hug her, but also scream at her. Lots of tears from her, lots of yelling at me. I didn't say anything. I told her we could discuss it at length with lawyers present once she accepted the situation and calmed down. I think someone called it gray wall in the comments of my last post. Not entirely sure, but I tried my best to do that and not show emotion and argue with her. It was really hard. Hardest thing I hope I'll ever have to do. She betrayed me, but I still felt awful making her cry. She left that day with some clothes, personal belongings, and went to her parents. My parents and best friend came to stay with me and my daughter. I had my lawyer arrange a meeting between us to discuss custody, belongings, money, everything else. That following Tuesday, Monday, I got a call from my clinic to come in to review the results of STI tests, and as it turns out, her parting gift to me was HSV-2. I cannot describe in words how angry, sad, shattered I am. I'm still accepting it. I don't think I have yet, but I'm working on it. I know it's common, very common. It's not going to kill me, but it doesn't make it suck any less. I joined a support group on Facebook. Those people are great. Going into Tuesday with that knowledge is awful. I felt so much shame bringing that up in front of not only her, but both of our lawyers. I knew if I tried to discuss it with her privately, it wouldn't go well, not with the amount of anger and sadness I had in my system. She never apologized. She was a different person that day. I felt like I was looking into the eyes of a complete stranger, no emotion whatsoever. Divorce-wise, everything is cut and dry. We separated finances. The house is mine. We're just waiting the 90 days for it to finalize. There were no objections on her end, but one, she wants to terminate her parental rights over our daughter. I say wants once. She is terminating rights, at least trying to. She doesn't want her anymore. Our daughter, our baby. I was effing blindsided and still blindsided. My daughter is one, but she loves her mama. Mama was her first word. She is one. It's been 3 weeks, and the pain I have felt, the pain for my daughter, for my family, has been indescribable. I don't know who she is anymore. I don't know what changed or when it changed, but it terrifies me. I feel like my entire life was pulled out from under me. I haven't talked to her, her lawyer's advice from, and my own fear of what I would say. She hasn't seen her daughter. She told me that day she didn't want to. She didn't want any pictures from her home, any memories, just her clothes and electronics. I don't understand any of it. I don't think I ever will. We have to go to court for her petition to terminate rights, and I don't want to look at her. I just can't accept this as reality right now, not after everything. I'm trying as hard as I possibly can to keep a positive outlook on everything and be strong for my family and my baby, but this has been so hard. I hope a year from now I can look back and say I survived that, but right now it feels impossible to even see next week. I'm not suicidal, so don't take it as that. I'm just emotionally, mentally, physically demolished. Absolutely demolished. Update. This is a happy update, 8 months later after last update. Hi there. For anyone who has messaged me and the loads of comments I've received regarding my past venting on this account, apologies first off. I genuinely kind of forgot I had it. Not much of a Reddit guy, but I've been getting into TikTok lately and saw a video of a super depressing Reddit story and remembered my own super depressing Reddit story. It's been around 8 months-ish since I posted here about my upside-down situation, and a lot of people messaged me in that time wanting to know how I was and what unfolded. And I really appreciate you strangers for all of your kind messages. It genuinely means a lot, and I'm sorry I haven't replied or anything. My life has been such a whirlwind these past few months. It's hard to believe that was that long ago. To sum it up, the sad stuff. First off, my divorce was finalized without any hiccups or holdups. I'm still in the works of trying to sell our old house, but in the meantime, we moved to a new state. My ex is still in the process of petitioning for termination of parental rights. I've only seen her 3 times since moving, and it has been to fly out for court. I was granted temporary full custody in the process per her request and suggestion, and she was not mandated any visitation and has denied any offer of it. She has not seen my daughter in 7 months. She has requested not to. I don't know what else she's been up to, or if she is still with her boyfriend or not since the divorce. It has been in the best interest of my mental health to keep the contact as minimal as possible, and she has done the same. I've offered many chances for her to visit with my daughter, whether it be video call or flying out. And before we moved, I asked weekly, but it was always no. Her parents still video call with my daughter, and we're hoping they can fly out over the summer and spend some time with her. They've been cut off by my ex as well. I'm not sure what changed, but I can't change it back, and I'm accepting it mostly. I wish her well in all her future endeavors. Now for the happy stuff that has happened. Firstly, I'm a proud Arizonan now. Never saw myself moving here, but we have loved it so far. My parents packed up and came with us, and I don't think I've ever seen them so happy. My daughter is doing amazing. She will be 2 years old in July, and she is the smartest, funniest toddler I've ever met. She knows her ABCs, can count to 20 without help, loves animals and bugs, especially. She thinks farts and a cow mooing are the definition of comedy, and she doesn't know, but she has been my biggest motivator to heal from this whole ordeal and be my best self. Like, I genuinely don't know how I helped make such an awesome kid. The more her personality grows, the more in awe I am of just how cool she is. I could talk for days about her. So, I'll cap it here before this ends up being a Harry Potter-length post. As for myself, I'm in therapy and have been throughout these 8 months, and I'm in a much better headspace. I'm working on getting back on top of my health, as I did put on about 30 stress pounds. I'll get there eventually, but I'm not sweating it too much. I have not dated or tried to. I don't think I will anytime soon. I've adjusted to being a single parent pretty okay for the most part. I credit that to my family and friends more than anything because they have been a huge support system throughout this. There are still really hard moments that have happened, and I know there are more to come, but I will roll with it just as I have this and hope to come out on top. This is not the end of the world for me, even if it feels or felt like it in the moment. The sun will rise tomorrow, birds will chirp, and all will be well. Thanks to my therapist for that. Those 2 sentences have helped me immensely. Sorry this ended up being so long. I should really pick up some journaling, maybe a blog or something. But thanks to you again for everyone who took the time to give me advice in the hardest time of my life. And thanks again if you read this. I genuinely appreciate it. New update. It gets better. 15 months after last update. Post history sums up the utter hell I went through a while ago, kind of just posting in response to messages as an update. Despite everything, I am well. I hadn't logged into this account in a while, as I also almost completely forgot about it, but I saw through my email notifications I had quite a few messages, so I popped in to check. Most people wanting updates regarding my ex and asking how I'm doing. Thank you firstly to all the kind strangers who sent very positive and uplifting messages. I apologize for not responding to everyone at the time. As far as my ex is concerned, it has been total silence. I stopped sending pictures and updates on my daughter a few months ago as they weren't responded to and I wasn't mandated to. Our custody case, her petition, is still in limbo with the court system back in her state, so we're still under the original order from our divorce. I do not know what she's up to or what her personal life entails. Her parents still come for visits with my daughter and talk regularly with her, but as far as my ex goes, they're about as in the dark as I am. I wish her well. Yes, I still love Arizona. I have nice neighbors. My daughter has a lot of friends in daycare, and my parents are also doing great. I switched careers in November, took a little bit of a pay cut, but I'm home earlier and I have a lot of very friendly coworkers. Our dog is doing well, and yes, she grew out of chewing. We actually adopted a cat in March of this year, and they became great pals, and my daughter adores him. My daughter is thriving. She is smart, funny, loving, and creative. She loves animals, swimming, all things bluey, and she has recently developed a strong appreciation for Dolly Parton and every song she sings. Yes, I'm still in therapy, and I'm doing really well. I've accepted the past for what it is and mostly moved forward. It hasn't come easy, and I know there are going to be difficult conversations in the future, but right now things are good. I have been trying to put more effort into my physical health, and I have been testing out different hobbies that align with my schedule and give me something to do and that I enjoy. I do not enjoy hiking or running. No, I'm not dating. I don't have the time or desire right now, and I'm okay with that. Maybe one day when I feel more stable and more comfortable introducing anyone into my daughter's life, but for now, she needs stability more than I need a girlfriend. I think that about sums it up for anyone curious or checking in. Not much substance, but I appreciate my boring life these days. This is a post that is pretty much a synopsis of my journal, but it feels nice to have it out somewhere for people to see. My situation sucked, and now it's better, a lot better. I hope anyone else going through dark times can make it out on top and relatively unscathed. And if anyone is currently going through dark times, please feel free to reach out. Your wife wanted to name your baby after her brother, a guy who stole your TV, your wife's jewelry, and one of your hunting rifles. And they got mad when you weren't jazzed about turning your newborn into a walking memorial for the local crackhead. What? Look, man, you didn't lose a wife, you lost a liability. She basically rage-quit motherhood and marriage at the same time, which is savage in its own right. But now you're free, and you've got a beautiful daughter. That's the real win here. You walked away with the best part of the whole mess. Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the R Lounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time, and please put your chair back where you found it.